Trump has deployed the National Guard to Memphis, Tennessee to help fight the violent crime that is overtaking the city, and leftists are accusing him of creating a police state and targeting black people. Yet the residents of Memphis are thanking Donald Trump, and guess what? Surprise, surprise, many of them are black. We're gonna react to their videos today, so let's talk about it.
Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better.
Guys, before we get into today's video, please like and subscribe. Yes, today we're headed over to Memphis, Tennessee to talk about the deployment of the National Guard to the area in order to fight violent crime. Now, as I said before, it has the highest violent crime rate in this country. According to 2024 FBI stats and research, they've compiled all this data in regard to violent crime, and guess what? Memphis is at the very top. Now, Trump recently deployed the National Guard to Washington, D.C. to fight crime there, and guess what? The crime rate went down. It turns out when you have law and order, there's law and order. It turns out when you go after criminals, instead of incentivizing them to become career criminals, the crime rate drops. Now, many said that he's creating a police state, as I said, and they said that black people are going to be targeted and marginalized and oppressed in this whole process by the National Guard. But guess what? The people of Memphis are rejoicing and saying, guess what? We can play in our front yards. We can walk to the store. I can send my kids to school so they can get there safely. And we're going to react to some of their videos right now. Let's get into video number one.
It's been real quiet in Memphis, as a matter of fact. I haven't seen so many black people appreciating President Trump out of a place like that ever, to be honest. And these people are going out in the streets and they're letting their kids play in the front yards. And they're enjoying this this type of peace that they haven't had in a very long time. You see, they've had a very, very big issue with crime. And since National Guard's come, you have parents that are saying that they haven't been able to let their kids play in front of the house like this for years. Like, they almost don't even know what that's like, you know? And so they're taking to social media because they are grateful that their children are safe and they feel safe and that they can go and they can walk up and down the street. You imagine not being able to go for a walk outside on the street because you're worried about gang violence or you're worried that you might get robbed. You imagine that? These people haven't experienced that in years, and now they're able to go out there and enjoy their neighborhoods. This hasn't happened for so long, and it's a good thing. Obviously, there's going to be one side, the opposition, who is very upset because these individuals are not slaying each other. And I hate to say that, but it's factually true. They are complaining right now because these individuals are experiencing peace.
And you know what? Another part of their complaint is that I think this exposes that their soft on crime policies have failed the people of Memphis, have failed the people of Washington, D.C. They've failed the people here in Los Angeles, in the place where I currently reside. And when you go soft on crime, you're incentivizing criminals. You're telling them that it's okay. You're telling them, in fact, become career criminals because we can arrest you and give you a misdemeanor here, a slap on the wrist here. We'll let you out of jail or out of prison, you know, at the soonest possible opportunity. And guess what? You're essentially saying you're good to go. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep terrorizing the people in your community. And think about that. Think about the childhood that you had. I hope it was a fruitful one. I hope it was, you know, a fun one where you were able to play in your yard. You were able to have friends. You were able to maybe walk to school or walk to the corner store. If you were able to do that, think about kids who can't. Think about kids who are even scared to play in their very own backyards, and, you know, in places like Memphis, places like LA, places like Washington, D.C., for fear of violence on their own property. This is a daily reality for so many of these children. And I'm very passionate about this issue because I've worked in tandem with police here in LA, specifically in South Central. I met a lot of people who reside in these areas, and to hear the reality of the situations they're in and to have that in stark contrast to my own and so many others is to just recognize that law and order is necessary. And you may not love law enforcement, you may not love police officers, you may not love the idea of the National Guard being placed in your city, but think about the relief that it provides to so many children, so many mothers and fathers, so many families who are living under these conditions and deserve the relief, deserve safety, deserve to be taken care of, deserve to have a response to the violent crime that is overtaking their lives. Now we're going to move on to another clip here. This woman's in Memphis, and she writes in her video, "I feel safe. Thank you, Trump."
Some of y'all might get mad at me. And at this point, I don't give a damn. I'm not into politics. I'm not into all that extra stuff that people be losing their life over. I ain't into all that. We human. Whatever. But I will say thank you to Trump for bringing these National Guards and doing what they're doing down here in Memphis right now. You know, for the first time in 5 years. I've been in my home for 5 years. And for the first time, my kids have been able to play in the backyard and be able to do it comfortably. I haven't heard a gunshot in 2 weeks. I haven't seen strange people walk up and down the street. Just a few weeks ago, I had somebody walk on the side of my house. None of that action's going on. I haven't seen no young YNs at the store posted. I haven't seen an infinity fly past me in weeks.
I gotta pause. This video makes me emotional, y'all. I'm tearing up. I think a lot of people use these places as talking points in their political arguments. It happens both on the left and on the right. And when you actually hear the reality, when you witness the reality, when you get to experience even a sliver of the reality, it should shift not only the way you talk about it, but the way you respond as far as policy and as far as who you vote for when it comes to the impact on these individuals. This is not a life that anybody should have to live. Being scared to leave your house, being scared to go to the grocery store, hearing gunshots every other day in the neighborhood that you're living in. Can you imagine how much constant fear, constant trauma, although I hate to throw out that word, but it's true. Trauma is literally instilled in an individual. And of course, we're hearing from an adult, but this was a young person. You know, this was a child, and adults don't deserve to experience that. Children don't deserve to experience that. Think of all the innocent people who are living in these areas, experiencing this on any given day, and it is wholly undeserved, and it is fixable. Okay, we're watching as somebody virtually overnight goes into a city and fixes it. And I'm not saying it's totally fixed and that Memphis is going to be perfect from here on out. It's just to say that you place the National Guard there and just listen to the stories of actual residents of how much safer they feel in their area. And everybody deserves that.
I'm sitting on my porch right now and I'm watching kids outside playing. People outside walking with their kids, stuff I ain't never seen before living in my neighborhood. But all because we feel safe in this environment, unfortunately, because of the things that are happening here in the city. I hate it had to be this way, but I'm happy. I'm happy. Honestly, I truly feel that this is just a band-aid to the problem. I don't think this is going to completely fix everything. But to have a moment of peace, just thank you, Jesus.
Can you imagine the relief? And really only imagine, unless you're living in an area like this, it's only to be imagined. And of course, I spoke about my experience in South Central, and that's ongoing, and it's nothing in comparison to what the residents are experiencing. It's just what I've been able to witness. I've seen places where mothers, grandmothers are pouring bleach on their front porch, on their front yard, in hopes that the smell sort of keeps people from coming and getting into their property and bothering them. We're talking gang members, we're talking violent criminals. I've seen young girls who live in houses that are completely sprayed with bullets. Houses have bullet holes in them, and they're living under these conditions. They're hearing people get shot. They're experiencing violence. They're hearing the stories of people who have lost their lives. On one ride-along that I was at in this area, and I'm not going to get into too much detail, we literally rolled up on somebody losing their life to gang violence. Somebody shot multiple times, literally losing their life in this neighborhood. And there were residents outside of their houses who this is so second nature for, that they are just seeing this scene happen in front of them. And of course, they're trying to help, but they've witnessed this so many times that it is nothing. It's desensitization, completely and totally. And while it's normal for law enforcement to maybe be desensitized to that sort of violent crime, to be desensitized to those sort of scenes, it shouldn't be normal for anybody living here in the United States. And if it takes deploying the National Guard to these areas to do something about it, then by all means, absolutely. Now we're gonna get into one more video here. And I'm gonna blur this kid's face. I saved it for last, and maybe we'll leave out his name as well. I'm not a huge fan of putting kids on the internet, but I feel like this video is pretty impactful. So I'm gonna show it and hopefully protect his privacy.
My name is and I live here in Memphis. I've been noticing not just a slight change, more of a detrimental change in like how peaceful Memphis is ever since the National Guard came. There was a lot of things I couldn't do before the National Guard came because I had to worry a lot about guns and stuff. I couldn't play because I was worried that somebody might pull out a gun or something, but now I could do that. And I just wanted to thank the President of the United States for bringing the National Guard.
Now, I'm not normally for filming videos like this with kids, and you can tell there's been, something said to this child to sort of create the message that is shared in this video. But there's also a reality. And if we can step away from the politics of what's being said here and the thanking of Donald Trump, although that is deserved, I'd rather not involve kids in the thanking of a president, because this is what should be happening. It's unfortunate that we have to say thank you to somebody for keeping communities safe, for making sure that little kids can go outside and play without worrying about being shot or even seeing, a firearm around them that could be intended for a violent crime. It's absolutely ridiculous that we even need to hear these messages, but this is the reality. And if you don't like the idea of kids getting to play in their front yard, getting their lives back, getting some sort of semblance of a real childhood outside of all the trauma that they've already experienced, I don't know what to tell you. You may not like the sound of the National Guard being in a city. And in reality, that doesn't sound that great to me. It shouldn't be something that has to happen. But we are living in this world, and this is what has to happen. And if it gets one child to be able to play in their yard, if it gets one mother to be able to walk to the grocery store, if it gets a grandmother to be able to just go out and sit on her front porch without fear of violence, then we've done something right. Okay, because this is the reality for these people every day. And it may be your talking point on the news or something that you throw out in a debate, but this is their experience. And most of these people you'll see in their videos are saying, I don't concern myself with politics. I don't really worry about all that. Do they have the time? Probably not. But they know how different their neighborhood feels. They know how different their city feels. And the fact that we were capable of doing this and making this change virtually overnight should tell you everything you need to know about how politicians and city administrators and counselors have been failing their citizens. And they've been failing their citizens in the name of soft on crime policies and restorative justice and radical empathy, except the empathy extends towards criminals instead of the actual law-abiding citizens who just want to live their normal lives in these areas. And there's only so much of this reality that somebody can take before it just becomes the world that they're living in. It's amazing to me to hear the stories of people who get to step an inch out of these communities when they're experiencing these violent crimes, and they notice that, wow, not all people live like this. This is not the life that I have to experience on any given day, except it is because that's where they live. This should not be the reality. And if you think we have a problem in our inner city areas, in our metropolitan areas, the problem is not necessarily the people, although we should take care of the violent criminals that have been able to just run rampant through these areas. The problem is your politicians and leadership, because they could be doing something about this. And when you hear stories of people attacked, of people killed, the likes of Laken Riley, the likes of Irina Zaruska, you're gonna find that the individuals responsible for these violent crimes, more often than not, have rap sheets that are longer than your arms and legs. So what are these people doing out on the streets, and who is not protecting us? You need to look to leadership. You need to change the leadership. And if it's not working for your area, become the leadership. Start advocating for yourselves, because this is not the reality that anybody should be living in. And it's time that this happens for more and more of our metropolitan areas. Whoever is experiencing this, where they live, call out to this administration and hope that they can come to your area and do something about it. I don't know about you guys, but I am done living in this backwards world where we are incentivizing crime and essentially pedestalizing criminals. We are allowing them to just run our cities. If criminals are keeping you from letting your kids play, keeping you from going to the store, keeping you from sending your kids walking to school, they are running your lives. Not you, not your city leadership, not your politicians. And it's about time that we change this. And if you are going to use the excuse that this is creating a police state or marginalizing Black people, meanwhile, Black people are telling you this is making our lives better, you need to wake up and you need to listen up, because it's always listen to Black people until they're sharing a message that you don't want to hear. So it's about time that we start standing on our word. And if you want to make the world better for not just Black people, but all people, and especially those who are underprivileged, who are in low-income inner-city communities, and not even in the inner city, wherever you may be, wherever anybody is underprivileged, if you want to start actually standing by your word and doing something, it requires going against your prescribed ideology, your woke ideology. Because guess what? Wokeness is not what solves this problem. Law and order is. Guys, those are my thoughts on what's happening in Memphis. Let me know in the comments down below how you feel about this. As always, if you disagree with anything I said in this video, do get out, but do so respectfully. I encourage healthy debate on this channel. And if you like this video, like, subscribe, click the notification bell to be notified every single time I post a video for you guys, which is every day. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.
Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better.